said yesterday on the air, it's probably the two most important days of the Red Sox calendar. I mean, we could talk about wins and losses all we want, but the money raised over the years, the lives affected at the Jimmy Fund, speak for themselves. And we've gotten to know a lot of the players who've gotten really involved, and over the last couple of years, you've really gotten involved. It's one thing, to lend your name and to support and to go down and visit. But you have taken this on as an important part of your, role here in Boston. Talk a little about how that's developed, why it's become important to you, and why you wanted a bigger role than just saying, yeah, I'll go down and visit some kids once in a while. Why did this resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the first day that I got up here in Boston, you can see the impact that the Jimmy Fund and the Red Sox have together, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, just walking around the stadium, you see the old like collection boxes and everything like that. So there's a ton of history with it, and I mean, from like I got to watch Nathan Eovaldi, like how he was the captain before me. He would always, you know, just kind of bring me along with him, just be like, hey, like I know you have a heart for this, like come with me, see how it's done, try and be there as much as you can. And so when I got to do that and I wasn't the captain and I was just like there and everything like that, it was just really impactful on me. And so when Nate left, I was like, man, there's big shoes to fill, but I want to step into that role so that I can try and be half the leader, half the captain that Nate was, that Brock has been, that the people before me will, and like all those guys have been before me, to try and step up and again just to try and impact these people's lives and try and help the community as much as we can.
Those visits are extraordinary, and they are as much as you are giving to the kids and to the families. What you get from spending time with them is you're getting it back tenfold. You are also a new parent. You and your wife welcomed Brooks into the world about a month ago, exactly a month ago today. How has being a parent really even amplified what the Jimmy Fund experience has been like for you, and what it's like to be to recognize the circumstance of those who are dealing with kind of terrifying health circumstances?
Absolutely. I was telling Miss Lisa, who's basically my liaison there at the Jimmy Fund. I was like, last year was impactful and had a certain amount of impact on me and everything, but this year has brought an entire new meaning for what we do with the Red Sox, with the Jimmy Fund, and everything that goes on being a parent. Because now when I interact with these patients and with these people and like the families, I almost kind of put myself in their shoes where it's like, man, like this could be my son, and so like just as like it could be my son, like these are their kids. This is someone's son, this is someone's daughter, this is someone's sister, this is someone's brother. And so when I see that, now that I've felt that impact of what it's like to be a father, like it's changed everything for me, and it's given me a bigger heart for everyone. And it's just one of those things that like, I want to be able to, again, give as much of myself and give as much of the team as we can to the Jimmy Fund, just again to be whatever we can to do to help in any way we can.
Garrett, I've been involved in this a long time, and you go down there and you visit, and right away you go and you play with the kids, and it's great because you put a smile on their faces, right? That's the amazing thing. But then, what always tugs on my heartstrings is when you're talking to the families, you're talking to the parents, right? Because I swear the kids, and there's been so many, some patients and kids that I've gotten to get to know and stay connected to over the years. You always hear the stories. The kids are actually upset when they're told they don't have to come back anymore, right? Because they want to go back. That's the play place, right? That's what they think of it is. But the parents, man, you said it. Like, now that you're a parent, I've got two sons. Alex, you have kids. It's you can't imagine what the families are going through. Talk a little about how they've affected you, how the families have touched you in your visits.
Absolutely. I mean, again, kind of like I said last year, like last year I was like, oh, loving on the kids, playing with the kids, everything like that, and that's all I thought about. But this year when I went, it was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna play with the kids, hang out, and everything like that, and it was so much fun. But this year I made it a lot more of an intention to like talk to the parents and be like, hey, how are y'all doing? like I understand like everything that's going on. Like, how are you guys doing? How can we help you guys? Because I mean, you can just see like on everybody's faces just the care and the love that all these parents have, and it's one of those things that you want to be like, hey, like, can I get you like a cup of coffee? Can I like do something to help you in this instance? And I tell you what, like the love that these kids have for their parents is amazing too, because you'll see just some of these kids, like if the parent walks out of the room or something, like it'll just like almost like really tug on your heart when the kid can go like, hey, can you go check on my dad? I want to make sure he's doing okay. And it's like, man, like you're battling through all this and you've got the strength to go through all this, and yet you have this selflessness to ask and think about your parents and how they're doing and all this. I mean, it just like it makes you just realize and look inward and say, man, like we could be doing so much more, and like we should be just looking outward a lot more than we really do. And it just brings joy to your heart when you see these kids do that. And like again, you really want to be there for the families as well, because they're going through everything and they're battling just as much as the kids are.
You're 1,000,000% right. The kids, the families are absolutely amazing. We get to learn so much about both personal strength and interpersonal strength from getting to meet some of these kids, some of these families. But I want to know what you think, what you've learned about the Jimmy Fund itself. You mentioned Miss Lisa, which I imagine Lisa Sherber probably gets a great kick out of hearing herself referred to that way. How would you describe the environment that's created, that's nurtured inside the walls of the Jimmy Fund? What you've encountered about that very special venue?
Yeah, I tell you what, from the moment you walk in, I mean, just whether it be the nurses, the doctors, the receptionists, like anyone that is connected with the Jimmy Fund, I mean, I don't think you walk 5 feet without seeing smiles and without seeing joy in people's hearts. And it's so refreshing to see all of that when you walk into this clinic, and you see the joy, you see the passion that these nurses and doctors and receptionists have to be there. Like to them, it's not work. It's like a joy to come there and be around these kids, be around the patients and everything they do. And I mean, from the top down, every single person is just smiles and hugs and high fives and like, hey, how can we make today a great day? And it's just refreshing to see that kind of energy, that kind of life, that kind of just rejuvenation and joy in every single person you interact with. And you can't help but start smiling yourself. You'll walk out of there and be like, man, my cheeks and jaw are a little sore. Like, what the heck? And it's like, oh yeah, it's just nonstop smiling the whole time I was there, because that's what everyone else is doing. And it's just an infectious like joy and an infectious happiness and just everything that you have the second you walk in there. It's amazing.
There's such a history of support from the Red Sox, right? And it's passed on from player to player, generation to generation. You mentioned Nathan Eovaldi. I talked to him last week when I was with the team down in Texas. We talked about the telethon and what it still means to him. That doesn't end, right? You get traded, you sign elsewhere. Your connection doesn't. Brock Holt will be a big part of this over the next couple of days. Will Middlebrook said he's going to obviously be a part of it. But can you remember sort of being a young player here and first sort of hearing about this and sort of learning about the platform and tell us your early sort of organic connection and how it grew?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, it started in spring training in 21, my very first days with the team. I mean, obviously that was when COVID was still lingering, and unfortunately, like none of the patients were able to come and everything like that. But like Nate was still telling me, like, hey, like I got these Zooms with, whether it be with schools that did a great job fundraising, or with companies, the same thing, or even with like just FaceTiming or Zooming with patients. And I was like, wow, like I've heard of philanthropical stuff that like teams do. I mean, we did little things here and there when I was in the minor leagues, but it was nothing to the extent of what the Jimmy Fund and the Red Sox do together. And I mean, as you said, it's evident with, I mean, every time I talk to Will or Brock or anyone else, like Nate, like it eventually comes up, like, hey man, like, how's things going with the Jimmy Fund? Like they'll ask me, and then like I'll be like, hey, like what are some of your stories and everything like that you got to be involved with? And I mean, even this year, me and Will did something together in the like where y'all are at with Ness, and like we did something up there. I mean, he still has such a heart for everything that's going on, and it's impossible not to, because you see everything that happens in the relationship between just like the players and the patients and the faculty and staff and everything. And it's one of those things where you just know that, like, man, something good and something right is happening here. And when you have that, it doesn't just leave when whether you change geographical locations or not. Like, your a piece of your heart will always still be at the clinic with those patients, everywhere you go.